You're listening to a portion of our conversation from episode 250, featuring the Jurassic Wire with myself, Brad Jost, and co-host Aaron Beyer. If you want to hear the full conversation, download the full episode on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to podcasts. Today we're going to be discussing Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous in full spoiler form, so just be warned, there are spoilers in this discussion. Now, you've heard my thoughts during our non-spoiler and spoiler reviews, as well as our interview with the showrunners, but now you can tune in to hear Aaron's thoughts. So we are going to be discussing some of the most interesting moments and sound off on what we liked and or didn't like. Again, full spoilers in this conversation. You've been warned. As always, be sure to let us know what you think, and of course, we hope you enjoy it. Let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, and that is Camp Cretaceous. I have no notes here for this. I just figured the two of us would kind of discuss the show and just talk about our thoughts and what we thought. And I've put my words out there endlessly already. So what did you think? I know we always differ on opinions. Not always, but a lot of times we differ. Maybe I can talk you into it. I don't know. What were your thoughts?
No. My thoughts are, one, how dare they? How dare they take credit for, hold on, spoilers for Camp Cretaceous and Jurassic World Live Tour. Stop listening if you're sensitive about spoilers for either one of these things, okay? Just go away. We love you, but you're not welcome in this conversation if you are sensitive about spoilers for these two things.
Oh, man.
Camp Cretaceous and Live Tour, all right?
Okay.
How dare they take the bioluminescent and make it and market it as they're the first ones to do it? How dare they? They put out that image and it wound up, I think Outpost was the guys that broke that. And in our group of Jurassic friends, people were like, bioluminescent dinosaurs. That's so cool. We've never seen. Yes, we have seen it before. And it was made soft cannon. So,
dude, I was just as frustrated.
How dare they make that soft cannon and then strip mine it for ideas? Mm-hmm. That's gross to me. I really don't like it.
It's a shame. And the way that I described it was, we got this moment in Jurassic World Live Tour, a very, very different, a different way, but we got a very similar moment. Both.
I think these dinosaurs make more sense to me. Like, I think the Parasaurolophus makes more sense. But that's just me.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're visually striking. The way that the iridescent color is just painted down their backs and up the horn or whatever that is. It's very beautiful on them. In the live tour, it was a Stegosaurus. I think a mother and a baby, and that was a very impactful moment in that show. It's worked in similar ways. While they're both super impactful, the music is impressive in both of those situations. But honestly, I gotta say, I was bummed that there was no insight into why. They literally had nothing to say about why this is outside of, I guess Dr. Wu was messing around with them genes.
See, I don't even like that. I very much don't like this idea that Wu is just making random animals, random traits. This goes back to our conversation of how real is Jurassic Park, right? And the intent of Jurassic Park is to say, these are real dinosaurs. We have made dinosaurs to the most real that we possibly could. Mm-hmm. And when you get to Jurassic World, and I know people that would highly disagree with me on this, Jurassic World's Wu is a do what I want and get away with it guy. Yeah. He does what he wants and gets away with it because loose sci-fi science. You get what I'm saying? So I actually buy I buy, just like in Jurassic Park, we learn that the Dilophosaurus had venom, right? Wu didn't create that. Wu didn't make that up and insert that gene into this dinosaur for entertainment value. We learned that Dilophosaurus had venom sacs, right?
Yeah. It's like we
And
now
in
know,
that's
you know?
what we now know.
Yeah.
And in the book, it was it was the same thing. And it was even then they're like, we can't even find the venom sacs because we can't get close enough to the animal. Like, you won't let us kill one of the animals to like figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, so they can't even biopsy one of these things. And so I feel like by the time you get to Jurassic World, it's, well, we can do whatever we want because we're splicing DNA.
Mhm.
And to me, the dinosaurs of Jurassic World are no different than fantastical dragon animals. They're not dinosaurs at this point. They're just fantastical things that look like dinosaurs that we know of. And so
Yeah.
what I was okay with them not giving insight was, and I didn't really love the insight they gave in live tour of, for a parade.
See, I
Like,
loved that. I loved that moment. That was
I was
brilliant
totally
to
down
me.
with that moment being like, oh, this animal has this in it. Like,
Mhm.
this is like a mating thing that we didn't know about, you know, until we created this animal. And so when I see the Parasaurolophus and I'm like, oh, the Parasaurolophus, it's a very sweet looking animal. It doesn't look very dangerous. It's got that horn on it, which I can imagine in like the animal world is probably like a good sign of like a mate. Like, if the horn is like a good size horn. All right, we're gonna sidestep that. But I think the bioluminescence of that kind of adds to it, like
Uh-huh.
a peacock, like having like a beautiful feather pattern or something.
Yeah.
So I was actually kind of okay with with Camp Cretaceous allowing me to connect those dots, even if they're not dots that should be connected,
Sure.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
Overall, no, go
God.
ahead. Sorry.
No, just touching on that moment in the live tour. That's the moment I liked more than them just saying, "Oh, it must have been Wu messing around." I love the fact that like it was connected to
Oh, sure.
something, that Mizrani was, messing around with had Dr. Wu messing around with the DNA to create these for a nighttime parade because it gives insight into the theme park, and that's my
So wait, are you
connection to this
saying
universe. You know,
in Camp Cretaceous, did they just say that Wu was messing around?
yeah, they just said he must have been fooling around with the DNA or
So
whatever.
just to satiate the guy who says I don't like anything, I'm very like lukewarm on Camp Cretaceous. Like, it was fine. Like, it was the quality level that I expected.
Okay.
It did nothing, I thought, to further the story of anything other than itself. Um, I I enjoyed it. I watched all 6 episodes in one night. Um, I
Well,
it's
you missed the
I'm a
last
very
two. That's why you don't like it.
what?
You must have missed the last two if that's what you did. That's why you don't like it. There's 2 more
Oh, I'm
episodes.
sorry. I watched all of them. Whatever. I watched all 8 then. um, it's not that I don't like it. I watched it, I was like, well, this doesn't advance any story for me. Like, this doesn't
Okay.
it didn't fill in any blanks. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, man. I I'm coming like down off Jurassic World. Like, it's just not the same anymore as when I was a kid, and I can't expect that.
Okay.
Like, that's on me, you know?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. I can understand that.
you,
I know there seems to be a distinction, a lot of times. There's a lot of people that are on board with both, but there's also a huge part of the fan base that is I'm Jurassic Park or I'm Jurassic World. So there's a lot of that as well. So
yeah,
I,
and
I
like
can
I think like
understand
I
that.
want to be both. Like I was just saying not an hour ago,
Yeah.
I want the 3 to become the 5. Like, I want that to be the case, but it's like, how many times can you drive home to me that Wu is like a villain? Like, I get it. He's a villain, and
Yeah.
part of my disbelief in that is it's very hard for me to see um it's very hard for me to see BD Wong as a bad guy. Like when
He
I
does it so
see him
well
in like
though.
Dominion, I'm like, that's not Wu from Jurassic Park. This is like some weird version of Wu that's like trying to be the book Wu. I don't know, man. So like, I don't know. Falling or Camp Cretaceous, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Uh-huh.
I will probably never watch it again,
Oh,
but that doesn't mean it
man.
doesn't have great moments or scenes that I enjoyed. Like
Uh-huh.
I really dug the dinosaur corral thing. I dug the Carnotaurus in the tunnels thing. I loved Darius, like until he leaves his friend for dead. I was on board with
Well,
Darius.
yeah, I
Um,
mean that's an interesting moment. They, I never really looked at it as they left him for dead. I guess like they jumped,
they cut. They're like we have to go.
yeah, for
They're like,
other
should we go
reasons.
look? They're like, should we go look for Adam Goldberg? And they're like, no, we have to go. Um, sorry, that kid's voice is like super iconic to me, and so like it's
Yeah,
just Adam Goldberg to
it
me.
does sound like that, yeah.
Oh, it
Um,
is. It's that actor for sure.
true, true.
Um,
Yeah, but it's not like he even tried to like disguise it. It's just like this is just the same thing, the same guy,
well,
you know?
It's Adam Goldberg, but like over the top.
Yeah.
Um, I was really off put by the hand sanitizer. Like I was really off put by the hand sanitizer.
Was it too close to home here?
No, it just didn't look it's a PG show, man. It just doesn't look good, all right?
Oh, man.
Um
Well, hey, we were
it
just
just
talking
didn't look
about
good.
VR, man. We were just talking about VR. What did you think about this intro to the show?
Dude, you want to talk about a moment where I am psyched beyond all belief and then have that excitement just ripped away from me?
Oh,
It's when dude, I was like, "Yes." Like they're going to bring Sorna into the mix. And then I noticed like something being kind of weird with like you kept seeing the hands and I was
uh-huh.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, this is like a VR thing, isn't it? Like this isn't real." And then
Yeah.
sure enough, he like rips it off. And I was like, "Oh no." Um thought it was I don't know. There's a video game, there's a Jurassic World video game out there
It's kind
that's
of weird. That whole explanation is like Jurassic
oh
World
no.
produced a video game where you could potentially get ripped apart by dinosaurs. Also, you could win a trip to go to the island. I think that's pretty. Like, I loved that. I love the moment. I thought that was awesome. I love the Willy
Yeah.
Wonka esque, Ready Player One esque version of like heading to
Yeah.
the island. But like, the reasoning of like having people die in a video game with dinosaurs that's made by Mizrani, I'm like, what? Why would you make that video game?
That
You
didn't
want
bother. It's
people to
like
come to your island.
of all the things that didn't bother me. Like man, I'm sounding really negative, and the problem is like I know we have animators that listen to this show, and like I don't think the show was bad. I enjoyed the show. I watched it all. I think the next time I watch it will probably be when season 2 comes out. I'll just like binge them all
Oh,
again.
okay.
Um, but like, so here's my thing. I dig the concept of there being a Jurassic World video game that takes place on Sorna because I like this concept that like Arjun, who does the radio shows here, he'll say his argument is like Sorna's supposed to be a big secret. Why would you make a video game about Sorna?
Hmm.
But by the time you get to Lost World, Sorna is no longer a secret.
Yeah,
And
not at all.
so I feel like dinosaurs are dangerous. There's no one's pretending they're not. You know what I'm saying? Like Mizrani doesn't pretend that raptors aren't dangerous. And no one's pretending that the dinosaurs, the T-Rex isn't dangerous. It's why the T-Rex isn't behind invisible electric fences instead of a concrete barrier, right? Um, so I think it's cool that Jurassic World like is using its history to like make this like alternate reality video game. But at the same time, like Claire has a very like big problem with that history and exploiting that history.
Yeah.
Granted,
Yeah.
she's one employee. Um, and then I also thought it was weird that the game has never been beaten. Like,
Legit gamers can't even beat this thing, Darius. So you think you're going to be able to do it?
yeah, like, I was like, well, wait, why would you design a game that can't be beaten? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, I just like the
Um,
idea that he's such a nerd that he probably read a book by Dr. Alan Grant that talked about, you know, resonating chambers and stuff like that, and you
Yeah.
have this knowledge. Like, so I can plausibly see that, you know, like it would work. But yeah, it is kind of odd that like nobody could beat this game except
Dude,
for
I was, but you can't even imagine. The first thing I see is a Sorna map. I was like, this is the greatest thing to ever come to Netflix.
Honestly, it was very confusing, that moment, to me. Do you have any insight into this? Because I was confused. I should have asked the producers, but I forgot. So it says, like, it's obviously a picture of Sorna, but then it's like the guy is like, it's Nublar, we're on Nublar or something, and blah, blah, blah. I forget exactly what the dialogue is.
Well,
But
the dialogue matters.
the dialogue matters, yeah, I know.
I mean,
Let me see if my notes say.
Quick?
But I don't know what he says, but he mentions Nublar. I don't have it. Can I bring it up here somewhere? Let's see.
I'm on a hotspot now, so you might have better luck.
Let me see if I can bring up some audio here. Am I signed in to my account? Anyway, whatever it was, while I'm bringing up, it was very confusing to me because I'm like, oh, that was just a picture of Sorna, but like the guy just mentioned Nublar. Why is that? What's happening here? Like, oh, this is some other music. I don't know what this is. Hold on, let me mute this for a second.
I'm not signed in.
All right, so here we go. I'm on the show. Oh, I don't know what this is. Episode 2. How do I get out of this? Episode 1. Go back. How do I do this?
Clinical trial results.
Play.
Like I said, I've only seen this show once, and I thought it was good fun, like for watching it one time.
Yeah. I'm gonna bring up some closed captioning here so I can see that as well.
And like just while you're doing that, but like maybe over time I'll appreciate it more as like the story unfolds. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't necessarily love Iron Man 2, but when I watch all the Marvel movies, I'm like happy to go to it because there's nuggets and morsels of information in there, you know, that get utilized later down the road. So maybe this just kind of suffers from that. Maybe as a whole, they obviously have a plan, because what a baller way to end that season. Like,
hold on, let's listen in real.
Coming.
I got it right here. Here's the sound.
Okay.
Can you hear it? It should be coming through.
Yeah.
Jurassic 1, come in. This is Isla Nublar base. Over.
Go Jurassic 1.
Emergency. Hostiles in pursuit. 2 friendlies in need of immediate extraction.
So, all right. So we got Nublar
1. We've got
Nublar
hostiles
1.
in immediate pursuit.
So why is Nublar reaching out about some issue on Sorna with 2 guys on Sorna? Jurassic 1,
we in the Jurassic
1.
community assume that these 2 islands are like 2 separate things. They're not. This goes back to the argument about where does this box come from on this set, right? Like Nublar and Sorna you can get to them by plane probably within 30 to 40 minutes. So like it's not impossible to think that like Muldoon worked on Sorna a good chunk of his time. You get what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I was just thrown off with the fact that this guy's like, hey, this is Isla Nublar base. I'm calling about some 2 lost dudes on Sorna. Like I was very confused right off the bat, because like I reacted like you. I'm like, oh man, Sorna, that's amazing. But then this voiceover is like, this is Nublar base. I'm like, wait, what? Why would you say that's Nublar? What? Like, I'm just confused. Like, I don't understand why Nublar base is calling about this. So I was just confused.
So then do we not know where the game takes place? Does the game take place on Sorna or Nublar?
Well, it does. It takes place on Sorna because you have the 2 blips on the radar that show the 2 humans on Sorna.
But what does the map say? Does the map say Sorna or does the map say Nublar?
No, it doesn't say anything. It's just a bunch of gibberish, they didn't
Oh,
actually...
yeah, the weird scroll stuff.
So radar's trilling,
so just
beeping, static.
Jurassic 1, come in. This is Isla Nublar base. Over.
So who is Jurassic 1? So Nublar base is calling Jurassic 1. So I would assume that's a helicopter maybe on the way over or
No,
something.
Jurassic Nublar base to Jurassic 1. Jurassic 1 is he not the isn't it the guy that Darius is following? So here's the problem, man. This is the opening sequence. There's no way that this sequence in specific wasn't vetted by everyone involved. Like,
Yeah, you would think.
Trevorrow saw this. Everyone important saw this opening shot.
Mm-hmm.
No, not you would think, man. I guarantee this sequence was poured over more than a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
So they knew what they were doing. So we need to find out what this is and like what this represents. And I think it just boils down to the fact that we're learning that Nublar and Sorna are more intertwined than we as fans like to believe. Again, I'm of the thought that had Alan and Ellie not been there to hold the baby raptor in Jurassic Park, I'm of the belief that baby raptor would have hatched and been shipped off to Sorna to be raised up a little bit and then shipped back to Nublar when it was of age.
Maybe.
You know, and we learned from Bumpy that you become of age in a matter of hours.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just-
I just think like from the start now, guaranteed. I mean, this thing is like it's still like number 3 on Netflix, so it's pretty popular.
Yeah, it definitely deserves its spot. I shouldn't be taking away from it the way I am.
No. I'm just saying like it's popular, so a lot of people are watching this. Nobody cares about this moment. It's just us. Like it's just the hardcore, like the Jurassic nerds. You know, it's just us.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm questioning this. Like, I need a clarification as to who is where. It could very well be very easy to explain, but I have not heard it yet. So please explain.
Has Universal not yet learned the second you introduce a map, people are going to question everything? Like,
yeah. I loved. I don't know if I saw it today. It might have been today, as of this recording. But Stephen Ray Morris must have had a conversation with Clayton Fioriti. Is it still up? I don't see it. Oh no. It was something about oh, it's gone. It was like I want in this show the kids to go into some base and like into some like computer and mess up one of the maps and just drag the lagoon somewhere else. just as like a little gag that we're all like, okay, explained, you know, very easily. In season 2, the kids are like, let me just mess with this map, and somebody's just messing with something, and that's why Mills has like a wrong map
and sends it off, like accidentally hits send.
yeah, exactly. And I credit to them. I forget who exactly said it, but it was between Steven and Clayton, and I was cracking up. That was too funny.
That's great, actually.
Yeah, I love that theory, and I hope that happens in season 2. But yeah, so beyond that initial sequence, you're struggling a little bit. You're having a little bit of an issue, but you like it overall. You didn't find anything too like earth-shattering. You didn't find anything that connects to the larger universe or anything like that. You didn't see anything for you.
I don't think so. Like, dude, honestly, man, I had to pull up an episode synopsis because, like, to me, it's just a big blur of Jurassic. I mean, do you have something that like I would go, oh yeah, duh? Like
Well, I think there was a lot in the second episode. You know, that was the episode where they went to the lab to see Dr. Wu.
Okay.
Woo! I like Dave. Shout out to Dave. You know, the little mention of like Siberian mammoth remains. That's like a really cool little tidbit that like, you know, confirms stuff from, you know, website material from Israeli Global about, you know, opening up Siberian location. I remember when I went to New York for a press day for Jurassic World Live Tour, they were like talking about tossing around different locations. You know how they ended up with a Chilean it was Chile. Yeah, it was like Chile. I think they had a base. InGen had a base out in Chile, right?
Yeah.
That was where one of the scenes took place, but they were tossing around like ideas of a snow-based location in Siberia. So this idea has been kicked around for so long now to finally have like Siberian mammoth remains. It connects that dot of like a potential base out there. It doesn't really
But
go
these are for
too
people. These
much.
are for people that want to take Jurassic Park and expand it. So, all right, the franchise, the movie is called Jurassic Park. Well, people already want to pick apart the fact that these animals are most of the animals in that movie are not from the Jurassic period, right?
Sure, yeah.
Fine, whatever. Um, I am not comfortable taking. I've never been comfortable taking
Okay.
Jurassic Park and expanding beyond dinosaurs.
Hmm.
Um,
Bummer.
only because I'm like, well, then where do you draw the line? Like, how close do we get to modern day animals that you can be like, oh, this manatee that went extinct 20 years ago, we brought it back and we're putting it in a special park. Like, I'm like, well, that's noble, but that's not really the point.
Well, I
So, like,
mean,
I don't even like when the video game, the phone game introduced the Siberian portion
like,
and the ice
yeah.
portion, I was like, done. I'm good.
Really?
Like,
I was into
yeah,
that. I liked that moment. I
I'm
thought that was
weird.
fun.
I don't like breaching past dinosaurs.
So when
It's
it comes to when it comes to like the toys and stuff, are you cool with it? Because like some of my favorite toys are like Dimetrodon and like stuff like that we
but see,
don't see in the films.
those have been so lumped into like dinosaurs that like I
Yeah.
don't distinguish them. But like if there was a mammoth toy, it's a guarantee pass for me. Like it's
Hmm.
not happening. Even the like
Oh.
the lycanopes or whatever, that little like furry rat thing that they did for the series 2 that Kenner did,
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
it looks like a tiger,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not. I think it's like a small, I think it's like actually like a big rat kind of thing
Huh.
from what I remember seeing on Discovery
I don't
Channel.
remember.
But like I'm not into that. I have that figure because it's a Jurassic Park figure. It's a Kenner one.
Mm.
But like if Mattel were to come out and do something like that, I'd pass. Like that's an easy pass for me.
Huh.
Because I
Oh
want them
man.
to be dinosaurs. I don't want to move into mammoth and saber-toothed tigers and
Yeah.
stuff.
I don't know. I would definitely like them to touch on that. I think it would be interesting to have a passing moment where, like, in Dominion or something, you just get a glimpse of somebody trying to recreate a mammoth or a saber-toothed tiger or something like that. I think that would be cool. It doesn't have to play into, like, factor into anything. I just think that's a nice little nod and could be fun. But that's about
Yeah,
as
I
far as
mean,
that goes, you know?
it's even like I have a little beef with Maisie. It's like, but why? Like,
Yeah, that's the
does it
next
really
step, you know?
need to be this?
I love
You
that.
know?
I think it's so Crichton, to expand on all these different routes. Like I think that's really cool. I don't know. I love that, man.
Yeah, I don't know. So okay,
What
we go to the
else?
genetics lab. I thought that was neat. It was fun. Um, wondering, why it's so easy for children to just get lost in this lab. Uh,
Oh, they get lost.
story.
Like it honestly it shows again how inept like Jurassic is as anything, from Jurassic Park all
Right.
the way to now. It literally just shows how like nothing matters. There is
Right.
no reasoning. They just are terrible at what they do. And in this case, it's like we have 6 kids coming to the island. Let's give them 2 counselors. They're good counselors. There's nothing wrong with them as counselors, but like they just let them they let the 2 kids just like shovel dinosaur poop on their own in the middle of the jungle. There's no watching over these kids whatsoever at any time. And it's like
Right.
they're like should the 2 of us leave the kids, just guys stay here after multiple incidents have already happened? Should we both go and find Claire? Let's do it. Let's go.
Well, let's start. So let's start with the first 2 episodes. The first episode is the raptor pen incident, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like that was super cool. I really dug this idea that like he fell in there and then like wasn't like immediately attacked. Like I dug this idea that the raptors were plotting to get him.
Hmm.
It wasn't just like he was rushed the second he fell in. Or like the raptor was waiting for him to fall in or something. Like I really dug that. I dug that there was a moment that he fell in there and he was safe for a solid 2 minutes, you know. I like that. I struggle I guess maybe not. It was weird that the second incident that gets them in. No, that's the one that gets them shoveling poop, right?
Yeah.
The second incident is them accidentally winding up in the Carnotaur cage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That one felt a little contrived. I thought it was great because immediately I recognized when they came up. I was like, "Oh, that fence is pointing the wrong way.
Yeah.
This is cool."
Yeah.
But I was like, "Well, wait a second. Why was this door so easily like there was no security measure to like, hey, you need to enter this code to get into a Carnotaur cage."
Yeah.
Like that was
and
weird.
no sign that says, guys, do not enter. There's live animals above,
Like
you know?
danger past this point. Yeah. Very weird. Or that like the hatch doesn't lead to like just outside of the cage. Then when you then you can like walk through a door or something. Very super weird. Like I dig the hatch concept. Like the hatch concept was in Fallen Kingdom. It was awesome. This
Yeah.
moment was really weird, but it was fun. Like I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I imagine like the goat hatch, you know, it's like we have a goat hatch where the goat just rises up into the into the pen there. So it's kind of it's right next to that. It's like if they have to fix the goat hatch, they go through that
Right.
one.
Let's see. I'm looking here. The gyrosphere thing was fun. I thought the stampede was neat.
Yeah,
I like this concept of the
about
storm like coming.
Yeah, about that moment, like I love the fact that they like explain like that they herd the dinosaurs into their like nighttime pens.
Yes,
It's such like
absolutely love
a
it.
minimal
Dude,
thing, but I love it.
I remember before I even met you, I remember you doing an episode of you were listening to the soundtrack and you were like reviewing the soundtrack. This is like, gosh, this has to be like in the early like 50s of the show, right?
Oh, so
And
early, yeah.
I know, so long ago. And I remember you being like listening to the music and being like, yeah, man, like you were like, I think this is when we see the animal caretakers like, waking up in the morning and taking care of like the feedings in the morning and taking care of the animals. And like, I remember listening to that show and being like, dude, this guy gets it. Like, this is what I want to see. And we got so much of that. We got so much of that in this show, and it was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, hey, we're hurting the animals over here because the animals have to get exercise and they don't stay out at night, which I thought was weird that they house the dinosaurs at night. But maybe it was just like they go to a smaller pen or something. I'm not quite sure.
I guess it was more like a backstage pen. I didn't necessarily think they were like going indoors or anything, but like, when you look at a zoo, I feel like they usually have a place where they can kind of go in and out of, but at least find a place to go in for the night or something. So that's the way I kind of saw it. They always have those giant rooms for them to kind of wander into.
Yeah, I did like that this show it did take us on some of those behind the scenes things because it was episodic. It could afford to spend, let's see, each episode being 30 minutes. It could afford to spend 10 minutes on behind the scenes at Jurassic World. And like, that's the thing that I take away from this as being like the best thing. And man, I wish I could go back to the beginning and kind of restate how I feel about this show, because like the more I talk about it, the more I'm like getting into talking about it. I thought they utilized the monorail way better than Trevorrow utilized the monorail. Like,
that was cool.
I thought it was a giant waste to not have a monorail attack sequence in Jurassic World. Like, if you make a vehicle, you design a vehicle in the Jurassic Park franchise to get attacked. That's why you make a vehicle.
And sure, they made the gyrosphere one, which actually connected to the show, which I thought was awesome. But like,
wait, how did the gyrosphere connect to the show?
Well, Bumpy. We now know that Bumpy was right around the corner as the Indominus Rex destroyed that ankylosaurus. The kids wander into that moment. The kids wander right there. That's where they find Bumpy, is right next to that destroyed gyrosphere.
Oh.
So Zach and Gray get attacked by the Indominus Rex, vacate the area, they get out of there. The kids come up shortly after that, see the gyrosphere attacked, and the Indominus is gone. And there's dead ankylosaurus probably right around the corner or whatever, but like, here's Bumpy. Here's the baby that they reintroduced to the wild with a herd of ankylosaurs, and I
Yeah,
think that was
Bumpy's
pretty
weird.
awesome.
Bumpy offers this weird level of time, like this weird time jump in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually kind of have problems with Bumpy. I know everyone loves him.
I love Bumpy. Love Bumpy.
My fear going into it was like, oh, it's a quadruped, which means it's going to be slower than the bipedal dinosaurs. And I remember being like, this is going to be like a hassle for these kids. Like
Yeah.
they're going to, I was like, wait, are they just going to have these kids lug this dinosaur around? And sure enough, it's literally them lugging this dinosaur around. I get that you want to have a cute herbivore for the kids for like little kids to attach onto.
Yeah.
I feel like a bipedal herbivore would have been a better option, a small Parasaurolophus or a small Gallimimus or something. Like, just because it could have. I feel like Bumpy is always going to be dragging these kids down, always. From like this point on, I feel like Bumpy is going to be a problem.
Because if it's going to get it's going to get bigger. It's going to get much bigger after this, I would assume. It's
quickly.
Still, it's still going. I guess there was some time span in there that we didn't necessarily see, but only a matter of days, like 3 or 4 days or something like that, right? So, but having like a Gallimimus or something like that probably would have been a better bet for the future. But man, do I love Bumpy, and I can forgive that little like growth spurt. Like I'm okay with it. And honestly, like the second I saw I think it was in the trailer or something, like they showed the kids literally carrying Bumpy. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. I love that they picked up this dinosaur and they're shuttling it around.
That's gonna be how it is. That's how it's gonna always be now until he's big. It's gonna be the kids dragging this animal. Whereas I feel like when you have an action sequence now, like whenever a threat is on its way, you now immediately have to take 2 of those characters and they have to like go against the grain and grab Bumpy. Whereas like if you had a bipedal animal, you could just be like, come on. And it would like, it could easily run and jump up into a car or a truck or whatever, Bumpy's a problem for me in just in a, not even a story sense, like not even like a, like he's a problem for me in like a structure sense. Like this is getting more like along the lines of like, I'm getting like into the weeds of producing a show and telling a story, but like,
yeah, I can see what you mean. I mean, it does get difficult, especially in the future. But I loved them like kind of toting it around and just kind of pushing it into the raft and stuff like that. Now it's interesting because it could create a fun scenario, or not fun. Wow, that's completely wrong word. But like a very somber, sentimental moment in the future if Bumpy becomes too big, very quickly, and they're like, we can't do this anymore, especially, at the end, Bumpy's only with Ben, so Ben can't help Bumpy, by himself. So I imagine a moment in the future if Bumpy gets a little too big where they're like, sorry, Bumpy, we can't do this anymore. Like we have to let you go. It's like, you're free. Go. Shoo. Get away from me. Like I don't like you anymore. One of those moments.
I hate you, Bumpy.
Yeah, get away from me. You see that? I forget what movie it is, but like I can like envision that moment in some movie. But
a lot of movies.
Yeah. But it makes you think about Fallen Kingdom too. It's like we saw some ankylosaurs in that movie, right? And specifically in the auction, you get one that's auctioned away. Was Bumpy auctioned away? Like that's a fun question. Or did Bumpy escape in the wild somewhere, at the end of the movie?
I mean, I guess you have to look. That was the other weird thing. I thought the line about asymmetry was weird. Like, I guarantee those models are not symmetrical in any of the Jurassic Park movies. CG modelers are, it's a thing you do. It's like, hey, to make this look real, you add in asymmetrical elements. So
yeah, I wonder. It's a good
that was like a super weird. That was super weird to me.
It makes sense though, like from Jurassic World standpoint. Forget about production. Like it makes sense from Jurassic World standpoint for Dr. Wu, who's somebody who's like, very,
you want to create the vision, right?
Yeah.
You want to create what the audience thinks.
Yeah, it also doesn't make sense though because the Indominus Rex is so messed up.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
they're all
it's got teeth out the
yeah.
side of its mouth and stuff. So none of that is symmetrical on that dinosaur. It feels like, at least.
Yeah.
I haven't like measured it or anything, um, but yeah. So it's an interesting comment, but like I believe it because he's so much of a stickler when it comes to his work. So it
Yeah.
works for me. But I like the Dr. Wu stuff overall, and I think like Tom pointed out something. Tom Fishenden pointed out like the clinical trial aspect of it. Brooklyn mentions something about clinical trials while she's looking at the screen in his office.
Who's
And
Brooklyn?
it's
Wait,
like,
which one's Brooklyn?
she's the vlogger, like the pink hair.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yep.
so yeah, she mentions something about like clinical trial results, and like, does that mean a human study? Or that's like what Tom was instantly going to. If you look it up, it's a human element most of the time. So does that kind of factor into what we were talking about earlier in the show when it comes to Dominion and what they're potentially doing with that? Is it some sort of trial for, did Wu discover some sort of virus a long time ago? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. So the big thing that I wrote you after the first, like, my big eye roll, I only had like one giant eye roll moment, which was Manticore.
Uh-huh.
I was like, wait, are you telling, like, I was like, really? You have this perfect opportunity to introduce Biosyn before.
Yeah.
I thought that was just super weird. But then you said that, like, in Evolution of Claire, it's just a completely different company that's like another rival.
Yeah.
It's another rival corporation. And then we got this VR game that sounds like you're part of a rival corporation stealing research. And so it's like, how many of these corporations are just coming out of the woodwork? You know what I'm saying? Like,
it seems like a lot. I don't remember
why not introduce one villain corporation? You get what I'm saying? Like, why not just have them all be Biosyn? Why not weave Biosyn into all the expanded universe stuff and then make Biosyn the big bad in Dominion? Like, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up at the moment. I feel like somebody just messaged me about what the other company was, and I've completely forgot what it was. But yeah, that whatever that other company was, it's like, why do multiple when you can just have the one? Like, especially when you want to reintroduce, and we've talked about it so much recently about reintroducing Biosyn, like, and making that like apparent for people.
Yeah, we
because
have,
people
right?
don't
Like,
know what it
how do you
is.
go into
Like,
Dominion and explain what Biosyn is without having this giant expository scene? And they could have been doing it in all this expanded universe stuff. It would have been cool if in live tour, if the Chili base was Biosyn, like anything to get the word Biosyn out there into the public, knowledge base would be, I think, writing well spent, like time well spent.
Okay, I found it. It was from a conversation I had with Stephen Ray Morris. So he pointed it out in the book. He said it was Mosby Health. So I don't know. We got Manticore and Mosby Health and Biosyn and InGen. Who else do we have at this point? That's 4 different companies right there. Like, are those just offshoots of Biosyn? Is Mosby Health like, and like, Manticore, like, are they some sort of cover?
It's just so
or
because
whatever.
like they're doing the reverse of what Crichton did. Crichton, like, it seems like the film franchise and its offshoots are basically being like, oh, there's all these corporations that want to make dinosaurs. But what Crichton did was Crichton introduced a bunch of companies in the beginning of his book.
Mhm.
He introduced a bunch of bioengineering companies. And what made Jurassic Park special is Crichton said, yeah, there's a million things you can do with bioengineering. And we just are going to follow the story of these idiots that decide to use it for entertainment value to bring back dinosaurs, right? Because he talks about, Crichton talks about bioengineering to make bigger and better fruits, and bioengineering to basically wipe out your enemies, with bioengineered like viruses and stuff. And he's like, no, we're not going to talk about the seriousness of it. We're going to talk about these dum-dums that use it for a theme park. And to me, it's like, but So like why do all these companies want to make dinosaurs? That doesn't make any sense to me. I
Well,
get
at
one
least
company. I understand Biosyn.
I don't remember, of course, a bad podcaster, I guess, but like Mosby Health here, um, it's a pharmaceutical company, so I don't know what that means for the greater story here. Like,
Right.
and you had mentioned like they were trying to make other things, so I think that's what was happening here. It was like a health issue or something like that. So they were trying to use the whatever it was on the dinosaurs that would help them in the health district. And the same thing I think went. No, I'm sorry. Manticore was actually stated to have been beaten by Dr. Wu to dinosaurs. So yeah, this is definitely like Manticore is definitely another company that was attempting dinosaurs. So you have Biosyn and Manticore definitely
That's just so
attempting
incredibly weird
dinosaurs.
to me. It's so weird to me that there was because even
Yeah,
Biosyn in the original book doesn't know what to do with like they're trying to figure out how to make money off of bioengineering too. Biosyn doesn't want to make dinosaurs. That's not the point of Biosyn. Biosyn wanted to exploit something that was already done and make money off of it that way. So like in Jurassic Park, the book, no one thinks to make dinosaurs except for this lunatic old man. You get what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
in the movie and I guess in the cinematic franchise, everyone was in the race to make dinosaurs. That seems weird. Dinosaurs seems like it's like you wouldn't think of it. You would immediately go to weaponizing it and health and for health related things.
Yeah.
That's what made Jurassic Park special. It was like this like outside the box thinking of how to exploit this for entertainment value.
Yeah. Well, everybody's a villain. So Manticore,
Yeah.
another is a bioengineering company. And I found it interesting because they mentioned bioengineering company rivals with Mizrani. And Wu beat them to dinosaurs. So this is not only a company that's a rival with Mizrani, but they've been around for 30 years. You know, Dr. Wu beat them to dinosaurs, which means he did this back in, the 90s, making dinosaurs.
Why?
So
But
they
so
were trying back
if
then.
they're in the business, if they're wanting to make dinosaurs, why are they competitors with Mizrani? Mizrani doesn't. He's not a bioengineering firm.
I know. That's what I don't know.
Is
I
it
don't. I don't know.
isn't Mizrani just a big global conglomerate? Like, isn't he?
Yeah.
Isn't he like entertainment and technology? Like, I don't think Mizrani was a bioengineering firm.
I don't know. I know they had their hands in a lot of pots, so I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
his
it's like
portfolio's so big, he doesn't know what he has.
honestly, like the show, I felt like it got pretty deep at times, but didn't necessarily answer a lot of questions. So it ended up opening up a lot of questions and making you wonder, and it did get deep, but like it just didn't answer those questions. Like honestly, like the whole, I think his name is Eddie, right? Like the guy in the lab with the birthday cake. He did mention working with other guys. So it's like he says Mizrani and Claire are clueless as to what was going on, and it's like is he opening it up like to these other guys being the same guys as whoever Wu's working with or whoever Hoskins is working like. So I wish there was maybe a little connection there as far as who are the guys, like at this point just tell us like what are these connections. Don't save all this for Dominion. It's like how many questions can you answer in that film? So
I don't think any of this is going to trickle into to Dominion. Which is
I would hope that does in a way where at least Dr. Wu was like, yeah, I worked with this and then I worked with that and now I'm here. That's what I want. Like some sort of connective thread to say like who he's been working with this whole time, and how everybody kind of connects. I don't know.
This is all scary. All of this directions. Everything scarily points to these human dinosaur hybrid things. And I'm just going to cry the day that I see it, right? Like we've got Maisie, we've got crazy clinical trials happening with Wu. We've got
Yeah.
This guy, oh, he doesn't know what's going on. We got Hoskins going like, oh, imagine this dinosaur at a fraction of the size, like in all intents and purposes, like when you think of the Indoraptor, it was pretty, I feel like, darn close to like a human hybrid like dinosaur. Like
Mm.
the way that it like stood and like,
Yeah.
I
think
don't know.
it was what they wanted. Like that's what they wanted. That's what Hoskins talked about in the first movie. Is that was their goal, and that's
Yeah.
where they got to. So they succeeded in that sense. They didn't mass produce them or anything, but like
Yeah.
what is the ultimate goal here? Because I don't know if Maisie or human cloning was an ultimate goal. I think that was kind of like a side project. So I don't know that like humans and dinos would ever be mixed, but yeah, I mean, maybe maybe the clinical trial is not pointing to virus, control. Maybe it's pointing to dino human hybrids, I guess.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
think so. I
Let's see.
you mentioned
Sorry, go ahead.
you mentioned The Walking Dead a while back. I didn't know if you kind of got that vibe when the kids went to that lab later on and met that Eddie guy with his birthday cake. I got huge like Walking Dead season 1 finale when they went to the CDC and they're like, they got locked in the CDC place with the guy and he's like going a little crazy, and I was like, I feel like this is like that moment where the kids are there. They try to find help. They're like, where can we go? Oh, there's a research center. Let's go there. And then it didn't end up helping them whatsoever.
Maybe. I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't even know if I remember. I remember the guy. I remember him being like a jerk. I remember being like, "Why are you a jerk? Like these are just kids." Um,
It was his birthday or something. I don't remember.
yeah, super weird.
He can be
Let's
he
see.
can be mean, I guess, on your
I'm
birthday.
looking at the episode synopsis. I love the Darius backstory that like his dad was
Oh
going to
yeah,
take him to Jurassic World. Like,
it's
I
so
think that's
sad,
great.
dude.
It's what?
It's so sad. Just knowing that his dad
Yeah,
was going to take him there, and it turned out to be horrible. A horrible experience.
right. Um, I love the gyrosphere stuff. I love the Indominus attack actually fell a little flat for me, and maybe it was just because I feel like we saw everything in the trailer, like everything that was
Yeah, there was a lot of it in the trailer. Yeah.
actiony. Like I feel like it was in the trailer. Um, so for me, it was like the show was great in the very beginning. So like the first 3 episodes I'm looking, it's like I love those first 3 episodes. Then I feel like it dips a little bit for me, and then the last 2 episodes are just super dark and like crazy. Like I love the
Yeah.
fact that the Carnotaur is like the big bad in this one.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. But yeah, the whole thing with Ben is really weird to me. And maybe that's what I was having a problem with a lot of the times, was like the characters I felt were a little weird. But like Ben, like there wasn't anything likable to me about Ben. Like I got like zero problem with him not being around, if that was ever the case.
I think
Which is really
I
sad
think he's
because
fine.
like he's like the sad, like nerdy kid, and I feel bad for saying that.
Yeah.
But
I think he's fine. Don't worry.
Brad thinks he's fine. Also thought it was weird that they decided to like sprain that girl's ankle and then like made her another dead weight, but yet she could run whenever she needed to.
Hey, she's
like an Olympian.
Yeah, she's sponsored by Jurassic World.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm being really hard on this, and honestly, like it doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
It was good and it was fun. It was entertaining. Like again, the way they ended that season, that is some baller way to end a season, leaving kids abandoned on a dinosaur island. Like, heck yeah, give me more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I hope they don't expand this like multiple years or anything. I hope, because like, how we talk about a lot with Fallen Kingdom, or Dominion. It's like how do they not just round out these round them up, just either kill them off or collect them real easy. There's like 50 dinos. Just do it.
Right.
Like this,
Right.
I'm like, why do they not just send a chopper or send a team out there, just go pick them up? You're telling me they're just going to say, oh, sorry, we can't help those kids. I don't think that would happen. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess what I'm hoping for in season 2. Maybe we should save this for another episode. But I'm sure there'll be an episode later. What I want in season 2 is I want a recognition of Eric Kirby. I want the kids to be like, what are we gonna do? And I want Darius to be like, this has been done. A kid, Eric Kirby, survived like 6 months on this island, and he did it. And if he can do it, we can do it together.
Dude, how many like 60-minute episodes were devoted to like a kid being stranded on Sorna? You know, like in their world. You know, like they definitely interviewed this kid about him being stranded. Like, so people have to know. That would be really cool to get a little reference there, and like we can do it. We can pull together. You know.
I think it was actually it was. I mean, I keep bringing him up all the time, but like I think it was Jack Newlands explaining to me those Jurassic Park 3 books that came out.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You know what I'm talking about?
I never read them, but I know of them.
I never did either, but he was telling me that like in the world, Eric Kirby is kind of like a celebrity in the sense that like he does have his moment of fame where it's like the kid that survived, you know.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like realistically, if all the others are constantly questioned about their whereabouts and what happened, you know, Dr. Grant has a theater full of kids that are wondering about his experience. So why wouldn't Eric be the same way?
The Pteranodon thing is the Pteranodons went on, I felt like, for kind of a long time, a little bit like in Jurassic World. I thought they utilized them for just a little too long. I did really enjoy the monorail sequence, though.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great way to utilize the monorail. I thought did not expect that Pteranodon to fly through and rip that kid out of the monorail.
That's brutal.
That was
so
awesome.
Dark.
It was brutal.
Like wasn't like slow-mo and just kind of like crashed through and like tore him out. And honestly, like that episode ended. That was episode 7, right? And like, there's a moment where like he like almost loses him, but then he like catches him again and he's fine. And I'm like, oh, cool, he got him. And then all of a sudden the next episode starts, and I'm like, wait, what? I thought he was fine.
Yeah. The next episode starts, and our hero goes, we have to go.
You know, it leads to that moment, and I know, you know, a lot of people are pointing out that it may not necessarily be the same dinosaur and whatnot, but like, you know, the Carnotaur at the end of Fallen Kingdom, it looks like different than the one that's in the beginning of the movie or the middle of the movie. Yeah. So it looks like it's that demon Carno, like the demon Carnotaur toy. It looks kind of charred and red and stuff like that. And I like this idea that it could potentially be that dinosaur, you know.
Does it have to be?
No, it doesn't have to be. But if there is a charred looking dinosaur in Fallen Kingdom and one just got exploded and now looks exactly the same, why wouldn't it be the same dinosaur? You know, everybody's pointing out, well, the scars are on the opposite side of the face. And I'm like, yeah, do you remember Kylo Ren had a scar here and then it was completely moved to a different spot in the next movie? It doesn't matter. Like,
doesn't matter.
You know? So I think there's a real possibility that could be like a nice little nod to that and just being like, who cares? You know, it's going to be a little out of place, but whatever. Maybe season 2, we got some scratches on the other side, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. But yeah, overall, man, like, you know, I dug it. Like I said, I give it like maybe a 6 or a 7, like out of 10. Like, you know, as far as like me being excited for more. Netflix has a problem where I think I'm kind of over the binge release. Like, I got really excited to go back week to week with Mandalorian.
Yeah, man.
And maybe that's what this show, maybe that's why my excitement came and went so fast, because like I started it and then it was over, you know, like it's just done. So I don't know.
Tough.
A lot of hype went into that to just watch it for 3 hours.
Yeah. Look, now it's number 4 on Netflix. So it dropped down from 3 to 4, but that's still pretty darn
because
good.
It's people that were thinking about watching it are listening to me right now, and they were like, "Oh, this guy hates it." I don't hate it. I like it.
I mean, it's popular, man. It's doing well, and I'm excited by that. And I think that's good news for us. And I think something that we talked about a lot during the live tour stuff was just expanding the world and giving us new places,
Yeah,
giving us new things. And
yeah.
I think this show did that perfectly. It gave us not a ton of new locations, but it gave us enough of new material and new spots to check out and more things to think about. Now we have 2 river raft rides, one actually called the River Adventure. Sure, it's a little weird that there's 2, but I don't care. I'm okay with one that like goes to a cave instead of just outdoors. So I think
I mean,
it's fun.
how
It's
many
awesome.
types of rides can possibly take you through dinosaur enclosures? Like 2 or
Well, it's
3
like
different kinds of rides.
I came up with another river one. If you want, we could put it in. It's easy. Just go through a cave instead.
Yeah, I mean, like why not? You know?
He pitched like 4
Um,
or 5 of them, but they only accepted 2.
yeah, I know people are kind of complaining about how that leads to like the Mosasaurus tank, which I thought that sequence was actually really cool too. Um,
But I think it's kind of like a nice little nod to the River Adventure ride, where like the Parasaurolophus bumps you off course and you go the wrong way.
yes, dude, I
That's
was thinking the
exactly
same
what
thing.
it
I'm like,
is.
oh my gosh, they did the River Adventure ride the
Yeah.
show.
It's literally named River Adventure. Like it can't be any more clear. And then the Parasaurolophus is in there, bumps you off course, and then they go the wrong way. Like
Yeah.
that's what happens. Like I'm sure there was another path that you just didn't see or something like that. But like I like those little nods, and I think there's plenty in there. Sure, it's not overly deep or anything like that, but I think a lot of these animated shows start off that way, and then they grow and develop into something really really cool. And I already think it has a great starting point. So
I'm yeah, I'm excited that I'm glad that Blue and the T-Rex were not a part of this season as
yeah,
quote unquote bad guys. Like
surprising.
that yeah, really surprising that Blue wasn't like a bigger part of this. Because she was plastered on like a ton of marketing material, of course. But I don't know, thought for sure that I thought for sure that she'd be back as a character in the finale at least.
Yeah,
And wasn't happy that they're gonna go into season 2, and now season 2 is when you can fear the T-Rex, you know?
yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, you have to deal with both Blue and the T-Rex, and that's awesome. That's
But
pretty cool.
do you have to deal with Blue? I don't know. Like,
Why not?
do they make Blue a bad guy?
Well, I think the live tour handled it perfectly. It's like we don't want to go near Blue. Blue's scary, but other dinosaurs, will help fend her off, and then maybe she'll come to your aid at some point. So I think that's
Okay.
a way to handle it. The live tour did a good job with that. So I'm excited though, man. I hope we get some kind of announcement. I would think, after its success, you kind of would hope that they announce something like right away to continue. Maybe like after a few weeks, then you get that second run of people being like, oh, maybe I should check it out. Maybe it is good. It got
What
a
does
second season.
what does being on the top 10 list, what does that equate to as far as an actual success though? Is it
I don't know.
successful because we're Jurassic fans and we see it being like the top 3? Like, is that really successful? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I don't know.
I
It'll be
mean, I think
interesting to
it
see what
is.
happens.
I don't know. I mean, I was looking at a list of like top stuff the other day and I forget, but it sounds like, it's a good thing when you see stuff on there for sure.
Okay.
So, and it's a more new feature, so I don't know what it ultimately means, but and in Netflix's case, look at most of the shows, they mostly at least get a second season. They usually give them 2 attempts, for a
Yeah.
lot of shows. And if they don't do it by the second season, then they usually cut it off. But like
I would
I think
imagine
it got
if
good hype with these
Dragons
companies.
Yeah, if Dragons got you said, like, Dragons has a bunch of seasons on Netflix. If Dragons
Yeah.
got a bunch of seasons, this will also be given a bunch of seasons. Because I don't think this lives in the realm of, like, what Netflix I don't think this has to live up to the same standards that Netflix
No,
considers,
not at
like, The
all.
Witcher. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this probably has to have, like, 1, it probably has to have more repeatable viewership because kids wanna watch the same thing constantly over and over again, right? but I also don't think it needs to be like, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be selling toys. It gives Mattel something to sell every year, you know?
Oh my God, yeah, and I think you're right about the standards and stuff like that. I think those ones where they usually give them a second season and wait and see are like unknown properties or like things that you don't really know what to expect. And
Exactly.
this is DreamWorks, it's Jurassic, it's Universal, it's Amblin. You're not going to say no, are you? Like you're not it's easy content for them to produce.
Exactly.
It has to be an ultimately like cheap product, I guess. I don't want to say it in a bad way. I don't think it's necessarily cheap or anything, but I think it's got to be easier to produce than a lot of other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've had this conversation with it not being with it being a cartoon that is not made in North America, your budget automatically goes like way down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, technically I think this would be considered an outsourced show. I could be wrong about that, but to me it's a North American company producing a show in a country that's not Canada or the United States.
Yeah, I know Taiwan does the the art on the show. So and it looks like they've produced stuff I believe for like Star Wars Rebels and stuff. They had all the standees in their studios. So
but Rebels is also an outsourced show. Rebels is made in Singapore. No, I'm sorry. Clone Wars was made in Singapore.
Well,
I
that's
don't know
what I'm
where
saying.
Rebels was made.
I'm literally saying the Taiwan studio where Camp Cretaceous was made had these standees of Star Wars Rebels. So would they have them there if they didn't make it? I don't know.
No, probably not.
So
yeah, so I'm excited. I mean, I hope that it just gets bigger and better, and I hope to see, like, I'm sure they had a relatively small budget compared to what they are going to be given for season 2. So I'm hoping to see that money be used in I'm hoping to see that money used in a lot of like refinement passes on the animation. I thought the style was really cool. But there were certain points where I was like, well, wait a second. Now, is it the style or is there some like unfinished animation here that could have just used like a little bit more love, you know? So I'm excited, man. Like I'm really excited to see what this team has and what they've got up their sleeves, because I think that this is on par with me with the live tour, which I really liked. So,
yeah. Well,
you know,
I think.
How dare they steal from the live tour?
You had to throw it in one more time.
Just one more time.
So
I'm very tired.
Let's wrap it up here.